And my very special guest on today's broadcast, Barbara McConnochie, who is one of the founding members and the principal oboist with the Brandon Hill Chamber Orchestra. Intensely good fun. That's Mozart in all of his most joyous D major. That is the Parisian Symphony number 31, and that was the Allegro, the final movement, which is, I have to say, Barbara McConnochie, a lovely way to get you back down the steps of St. George's to round the evening off on Saturday. Absolutely,
yes. We're really looking forward to it. Our conductor, Andrew Schulman, started rehearsing us last week, and it was fantastic. It was he immediately began polishing up the sound, and we just know that the fantastic acoustic of St. George's will really benefit from the performance we give on Saturday.
There is a bit of a backstory to the Paris Symphony, unfortunately for Mozart, because it's full of joy, but it turned out it was a bit of an ill-fated trip for him.
It was. He was travelling in Europe with his mother, actually having a very hard time of making his living, and they had to pawn bits of furniture on the way and selling bits of her jewellery to keep ahead of the debtors that they gathered up on their route. And they got to Paris, and his symphony was well received, but then 2 weeks later his mother died. So it's a very mixed emotions, and in actual fact the music that comes after that reflects the sorrow of his mother. But we were glad to have that he had the experience of the symphony being well received before he lost his poor mama.
You've constructed a very carefully considered programme for this concert. What sort of emotion do you think is going to be simmering at the surface of this, most especially on Saturday? Because, as you say, it's a slightly tighter sound. It's more ethereal almost, the programming, than what we have come to expect from the Brandon Hill Chamber Orchestra.
It is certainly more ethereal, but in fact it's probably playing to our chamber orchestra strengths, and it is more of our route. You have to remember that we are called Brandon Hill Chamber Orchestra, and that the fact that we tackle symphonic repertoire so regularly and enthusiastically doesn't mean that we can't do the chamber orchestra stuff very well. I think what they asked the question was, what can we deliver that will interest people that they perhaps haven't heard before? And that's one of the reasons we're playing the Honegger. It was a new work to me, the one we heard before the news. It is a very summery piece of music, and we've known from past experience that what people want at this time of year is the lift, the feeling of being outdoors and being somewhere warm. And this French feeling then percolated its way through the programme. The Ravel piece, which is the homage to Couperin, is again, there's nostalgia, there's regret. It was written after the First World War, when Ravel was looking back at the friends he lost, and he uses his respect and adoration for Couperin to express the music. So while it is very light and vivacious, there is nostalgia and regret in that music as well. So it's not all about tinny fripperies, it's very much heartfelt music. And the other piece we ought to mention is these lovely seven Berlioz songs sung by a young, very promising voice, Jessie Schulman. And this very voluptuous French sound, talking about, the blush on the rose and the ghost of the dawn and all the things that the French romantics do so beautifully, the Gautier poems. They really give a different texture to the whole evening, and it's very interesting to put such a small, delicate work at the centre of the evening, and I think the audience won't be disappointed, because in St George's, the acoustic, you can hear a pin drop, and it is wonderful when you really get the feeling of the sound blossoming into that very, very lush acoustic. We always love it.
Now, there will always be a segment of the Bristol public who have never been to a classical concert, and as a consequence of that feel disinclined to engage with classical music for a number of, well, firstly, there's ticket pricing to go and take a punt on something that they've never experienced before, and secondly, sometimes you and I have been speaking, well, you especially have been speaking very informedly about the music, but is it something that you need to know about to enjoy?
Absolutely not, though it makes me think that one of the things we were going to asked to do is for the conductor to say a few words, because I think there's a terrible distance between the audience and the orchestra, and in actual fact what we always say to anybody that knows us in the audience, come and have a drink afterwards. That's the time when you can ask questions about the music. And the other thing that, Billy, you might be interested in knowing is that we do actually have a scheme for introducing real littlies to concerts. We've priced the tickets at £10 for one adult and two children, and quite often we've got a following of little ones who come, and they may only come to the first half of the concert. And what we do beforehand is we meet them in the crypt, we talk a little bit about what's going to be played, we let them have the chance of meeting an instrument in the orchestra. This time they've got the chance to meet the harp, because there's harp and revel. They won't get many chances to stand up close and comfortable with the harp and actually find out about how the pedals work, how the strings work, have it highlighted when to listen for in the music. So I feel that maybe the problem is for adults that they are frightened of the music. What I would say is, you know, bring any of your children, because they will ask the questions for you and you can stand back and let them do the work. And it's really about growing audiences and letting them have the chance. If you as an adult aren't brave enough, well, I'm sorry. I think you're foolish and you're missing out on a treat. But if your kids are stronger and braver than you, then bring them along, because we're pleased to have them.
And you know, one of the nice things about sitting in a concert hall is that you get to see how the dynamic of the thing works. When you listen to music on the radio,
yes.
It's a very pleasurable experience, there's no doubt. But when you're in the immediacy of the hall and you see, you know, the eyeballs popping on the oboe players, as it were, it really adds something to it.
I think this is the most important thing. I think that trying to teach kids about music from CDs and from just records and from distant music played on headphones is not the way. They've got to actually see the physicality of music. They've got to actually see, you know, a double bass is a heavy thing that is played with force, that, you know, to play loud, the trumpet player gets red in the face. They've got to see the physical effort that goes in to make the volume of music that is coming out. And I think kids are very, very tuned into watching people and reading the emotion of whether the music is sad or happy, and understanding what's going on. They're much, much more in tune than adults sometimes give them credit for. And I think it's lovely, because whenever we've got kids in the concert hall, the parents are anxious about them sitting quietly, but they're absolutely taken in and sit beautifully. We make sure they've got seats where they can virtually hang over the balcony and touch us, and it really enhances their experience. And we're really glad that the numbers of littlies are increasing, and we think it's our future, because they're building an audience not just for our benefit but for their own pleasure as adults.
And of course, we mentioned while the news was on, you and I in the studio, we can't expand on this too much, but the Brandon Hill Chamber Orchestra are rolling out, in the process of rolling out a permanent outreach and engagement programme with one of the local schools.
Yes, we've been hoping to make a bond with the school, and we're still interested in any schools that are out there that want to come and talk to us. We feel very strongly that most young people are introduced to classical music through their voice, by singing in a choir, and it's really important that they get the chance to do this. So we're looking for opportunities for school choirs to come and sing with us, and this is something that we're at the early stages of, and I think there is a school locally that will actually be able to benefit from this. But these things take a long time to roll out. Schools work to a very tight timetable. But there's a lot of positive vibes around all the music making that's going on at the moment, and a lot of the teachers are saying that there are opportunities for young people that we can offer, and that we're going to work on this. So fingers crossed, watch this space. I hope I'll have more news for you when I come back to talk to you again before the next concert.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to hearing the full detail, and we will be able to thrash out and name names at that stage as
Yes.
well. We should probably wrap up by saying where and when, and most importantly, how many pounds is it going to cost us to come and see the Brandon Hill Chamber Orchestra this weekend?
Okay, tickets £15 and £13, unless you're coming with children, in which case £10 ticket for an adult and 2 children come in with you, or £15 if you want to bring 3 children in with you. We can't really do better than that. There are tickets still for sale, and I think some of them will be at the lower price still. But with St George's, there's no such thing as a bad seat. You've got good surround sound wherever you sit. So come along and join us, and we'll be really pleased to see you. And come and introduce yourself at the bar afterwards, because there's a lot of opportunity for us all to learn and share in great music on Saturday.
And you're a sociable old bunch really as well.
That too.
What time is it all kicking off?
It starts at 7:45, and if you want to come to the children's introduction, please be there by 7:15, and it lasts about 15 minutes. But the downbeat for the main orchestra is 7:45.
Fantastic. Barbara McConnochie, it's always a joy to see you. I can't believe you've made it through Christmas looking as healthy and as svelte as you do.
You're a very sweet chap, Billy. It's been lovely to talk to you today.
It's always a pleasure. I'll see you on Saturday night.
Look forward to it.